Zoom silent lecture, communication bubble. So, some of the areas of conversation that has been going around in the academic environment for this pandemic is that of social distancing, sanitizing equipment, and wearing a protective gear. So we know that is very important. And one of the other uh, words that has been tossed around lately is that of working in a bubble. That came up with the NBA championship a couple days ago about how they had to play their games in a bubble. So, what exactly is a bubble? A bubble is basically an isolation area that keeps you socially distanced. So, um, so how do we apply Zoom to that of a communication bubble? Well, uh, a couple few months ago, I came up with a concept called the Zoom Silent Lecture, and that was based on, in essence, of working in a communications bubble scenario. And of course, this was before the pandemic. So, just so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about, is let's take some examples of what a communication bubble is all about. So, here's a few examples.
My name is Becky Tagan Scott. I'm an underwater videographer, still photographer, 3D camera operator, and technical diver.
I'm going to step off the limb. That's one small step.
Houston, I have a bad feeling about this mission.
Please elaborate.
That's the same feeling I had about.
Entry one, entry leader. How you guys doing?
Entry data, this is entry one. We're doing well.
So those were a few examples of a communication bubble. Basically, it's isolated communication. So a bubble is an isolation zone. So we're creating an isolated communication particular type of scenario. So this is a scenario or a example of how we can develop that particular type of workflow using Zoom. So this Zoom silent lecture bubble, the concept, all students log into Zoom meeting, a Zoom meeting ID, and listen to the live lecture broadcast from the instructor's PC or mobile device. Voice, and this is important, voice reinforcement will not be necessary because we're talking isolated communications between each member of the who is ever confined to that communications bubble. They're receiving direct communications to them, and they're able to speak directly to the instructor without going through any type of integrated systems. So that is why this is a self-contained communication bubble. Secondarily, if by choice or the scenario presents itself, each group will have the ability to communicate independent of the bubble through virtual breakout rooms, and which will be initiated through the host computer there. So that host computer could speak to the entire group, send them out on their merry way. They can communicate among each other, and then the instructor can bring them back, all within an isolated communications type of scenario. The prerequisites for that would be each student would have to have, of course, headphones or earbuds and the Zoom app on their mobile device. So here are some of the devices that would be applicable to our use case scenario. Of course, that would be the iPad and or your mobile phone. The iPad you would basically bring up Zoom on your iPad, and if you were wanting to hear the lecture, you would tap into the 3.5 millimeter head plugs on the side of each device and connect that to your ear. And then if you had a question, you could just press the microphone button. You don't have to worry about feedback because it is a isolated communication scenario. So nothing goes to the house sound to create feedback. The tap to speak function on your mobile phone works a little bit better because you can actually put your phone in drive mode and just tap the button when you want to talk. So that tap to speak feature applies to mobile phones, and it works a little bit better, I think. And of course, you would have the option to use your Bluetooth or your audio connection device that's particular to that device. And those devices vary, but I believe 99% of the population, they have that equipment for their device. communications gear. Now, this is really cool. The carrying case for the iPad would be a clear carrying case with a shoulder strap. The carrying case, you can actually engage Zoom and press the buttons through the plastic shield. So that's a good thing, and that keeps everything sanitized properly, and they were still able to use all the functions of their tablet with this carrying device. The phone unit, that's a little bit unique, but it can be done as well with the phone type A attachments that's on the right side there. Picture you can we can get in those devices you can order on Amazon, and they're fairly cheap. So that can be used in that particular scenario as well. The hearing device area, which here hearing options, you have three. You have the single connection, as you can see in the illustration there. Most people have the double wired or Bluetooth right now. Any of these devices would work for your mobile device. That is the silent lecture concept that I think would be a tremendous cost savings for any type of future deployments for social distancing, teaching our students. The silent lecture concept is a solid solution. The AV works, the AV math kind of works out, and we've kind of done things like this before. And this is all voice over IP using Zoom for this function. The key here, the key takeaway here is this could not be achieved without Zoom's ultra low latency over the wireless networks. So it's ultra low latency, and that helps us out tremendously. And because we're not connecting to any house sound systems, again, we do not have to worry about feedback. So thank you very much.